Hello, everyone. Welcome back to
Awesome.
another episode of the Breaking Point podcast. Today, we are here with Aaron Robertson. Aaron is
Hello, everybody.
hello, everyone. Is in somewhere sunny at the moment. Where are you? Are you calling from?
I'm currently in Marbella, my friend. Marbella,
George,
Spain.
he's in Marbella. So, Aaron, before I go on a rant about what you're doing, why don't you just tell people what it is that you're up to?
Yeah, so I run an online self-development program for young men. So I kind of got into this just through a background in fitness, in sport. I've always been doing some sort of sport, whether that's running back in the day, whether that's football. My kind of more recent years have been training in the gym, bodybuilding, bit of powerlifting. And I kind of always had this sort of this vision of just showing other people, particularly young lads, how their quality of life can improve by doing what I do, what they can get out of that, right? So that sort of led me to go down the coaching route. So I've been like a PT in the gym floor. I've done that for quite a few years. And it kind of pushed me to go into the online coaching space. And it started off just very sort of fitness coaching. But yeah, now we're out here currently running, a pretty successful online just sales development program for young men. And it's going really well, man. I'm loving it.
And who's we? You just mean the
Yeah,
girls
so
we?
of course, sorry. So we is with my business partner Lewis, so a good mate of mine. So we've been working on this together now. Officially, we started this business at the start of the year, actually, but we've both been coaches in this space in the industry for about 2 to 3 years prior to starting this year.
And why fitness? I mean, that's
Good
one of the
question,
big
man. Yeah,
questions.
so I've
I've
fitness.
sort of jumped into the deep end actually, but we'll touch on it. Yeah. So, what's the significance of fitness to you?
Fitness is everything, mate. Fitness is just, I think, the foundation. I firmly believe that if you have your health and fitness in check, whether that's you appreciate how you look, you're confident how you look, you're physically fit, you're healthy, or a combination of everything. I think that's like the table that supports everything else. Well, the sort of analogy I give to people, to my clients when we kind of talk about this, I think your health is like your foundational table. Every other aspect of your life sits on top of it. So your social life, relationships, your work, career, family. If you've got no sort of foundation, no table, which is your health fitness, you've got nothing to support it all. So I think I know that your physical self and your well-being is absolutely paramount just to your overall quality of life. And I think it's almost a shame for you not to see how good you can be, especially whilst we're young, with your physical self. Whilst we're able to be so capable.
Did you always think that, or did you have to reach that? Have you reached that conclusion as a result of getting increasingly fit and increasingly muscular?
I would say I reached that conclusion throughout the journey. It's definitely not something I thought when I first started. I mean, I'm turning 26 soon. I've been doing this for over 10 years now. And it wasn't something I initially, I didn't get into this sort of lifestyle to think that. It's something I definitely developed over time. I guess when I first started training back when I was, 14, 15 years old, it was just to be more confident, maybe to get more attention from girls at school. It's just all the typical reasons for a young teenage lad to get into the gym to feel better about himself. And it started that way, but very much now, I think training for me is more so, and I think a lot of people sort of realize this as they kind of go forward with their fitness journey, is more so for the mental, for the psychological aspect. Obviously, I want to stay in shape, I want to look good, I want to feel good. But I think for me now, it's more so it's very much for how I feel about myself and my quality of life. Like it's therapy in a way, man. It's therapy, and I know it is for a lot of people as well.
In what way? I know I'm doing a lot of just going back on what you say, but I think that's a good way to start to get into the more deeper questions. So, in what way do you think? Do you think it's therapy in the sense of it just clears your mind, or has it? I mean, you're in a fortunate position, I guess, because the more fit you get, the more it positively impacts your business. But then obviously that also positively impacts your business because of what we've just been talking about and how you think fitness is. And I agree with you. I mean, one of the questions is how important is, obviously health is a different thing. Health is reconnecting. Don't do this to us. Come on, Marbella needs to get better Wi-Fi. Obviously health is everything, but fitness is a bit more of a gray area. So what was my original question? It was about, do you think that it doesn't matter? Can you still hear me?
I've got you. Yeah, I've got you. How's my connection?
It's buffering a little bit. That's fine.
You can move inside. I mean, my Wi-Fi signal should be strong as I've got max signal.
No, I think
I always move inside. It might help out a little bit.
no. I think no. That's a nice background. No, I'm sure it'll be fine. it doesn't, as long as it doesn't impact the recording, then it's just a little bit inconvenient for us, but that's fine. We're not really that bothered.
We've got power of editing, mate. We can crop and cut.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So when did you start Genesis?
So Genesis actually only properly started this year. So Genesis has been an idea which has been ongoing for a long time. I've always known I've wanted to create something big special. And likewise with my business partner Lewis, obviously one of my best mates. We've always known we wanted to do something important that was going to give back to young men to help them improve their lives. So Genesis was born sort of January this year was when it was actually brought into fruition. But the idea goes back years. I mean, we were having conversations about this term Genesis 6 years ago. Because Genesis literally means like the origin or formation of something new. It's like a new beginning. So it's kind of like a bit of a Bible term as well, actually. So it's quite fitting to what we do, what the program is about, because it's about giving young men a new beginning, a chance to find out there's more to life than what they typically have at the moment. And that's kind of when it forged. Yeah, we brought the idea together. So we kind of combined our old businesses as like online fitness coaching to merge together to create Genesis in January. And we've just been taking it from there ever since.
Is that something that is Genesis something that you think you would have been benefit to you when you were growing up?
Absolutely. Genesis is what I wish I had when I was 18, 19, 20 years old. It's what I wish I had when I needed to gain more confidence in social situations and environments. It's what I wish I had when I went for my first break, my heartbreak. It's what I wish I had when I needed to know more about training and nutrition to progress more within the gym and in my physique. It's so much more than just like a typical online fitness program. It's not a case of, you join on, you get in fit and health. Obviously, yes, the health and the fitness is a big part of it. It is the foundation of what we do, but there's so much more to it in terms of self-development with the mindset side of things, becoming more emotionally self-aware, stronger with your mental health, a better relationship with oneself, and then also developing other skills like your networking, your ability to talk to other people, your ability to understand money better. We do a lot about financial literacy and businesses within Genesis as well. It's kind of showing people that there's more out there than just maybe the typical sort of 9 to 5 life that these lads might be living at the moment. They can explore that if they want to as well.
Yeah. Why? Because obviously, I mean, that's a big topic we can get into, but obviously, young men are really struggling at the moment. All the things that you just laid out are all the things that are missing, probably from the culture and the sort of the non-school education of young men. Like, we're not taught any of the stuff that you've just spoken about. I mean, do you think things are changing? Do you think, because obviously you must be 25, so we're the same age then. So trying to remember what life was like 10 years ago. I mean, definitely wasn't as complicated as it is now. Being 15 now must be way harder than it was 10 years ago. But I get, I guess if you had to, like, really sort of weird question, but what would you say is like most important to start off with as a young man to have, like, I mean, you're probably going to say fitness, aren't you? And then would you put fitness at the base and then you would build up? What would you build up to? Do you understand what I mean? Or what would you put above fitness in terms, would it be
Yeah,
financial? Would it be random question?
yeah. So I think in terms of like, no. I think it's an important question because I think a lot of young men are very lost and they don't know where to start. I think they know something needs to
That's the key,
change,
yeah.
but they don't know where to start. And I think that that's a big issue with what I'm seeing right now. And you are right; it's a lot harder now for for lads that age, and for us 8, 9, 10 years ago, the social media is more prevalent than ever. There's a lot of pressure, there's expectations to be a certain way and be a certain person. I think I'm always going to come back to fitness as being the base. I do firmly believe that mental health is not always, but most of the time downstream of physical health. I think if you are physically healthy and you are fit and you are happy with your physical health and your well-being, I think you will be mentally stronger. I think you'll suffer from less mental health. Not all the time. Obviously, there are cases where you can suffer from mental health while still being physically fit. But I think if you're physically capable, that's going to solve 80 to 90% of your mental health issues. I firmly believe that because I've seen it firsthand in my life. And I think the other people that I talk to and coach in Genesis have said the same as well. So I think after that, I would say mindset. I think developing your mindset. Now, and I know mindset gets thrown around quite a lot. What do we mean by mindset? I think I would say your ability to kind of regulate your emotions, your ability to be more confident, and just becoming more sort of self-aware, I think is absolutely key. Because again, moving out here, I've been out here now in Marbella for 2 to 3 months, and everyone I've met out here in terms of like networking with high level entrepreneurs, people in business, they all got one thing in common, and that is just a bulletproof mindset. Like they all are extremely perceptive. They're very self-aware. They understand how they're feeling at all times. They're very in tune with that. They're very good at tolerating stress, I think is a big one. And I think mindset is absolutely key. So before you even start looking at the finances side of things, or maybe developing that business idea, that side hustle, or whatever it is, I think your self is the most important thing. So I think that's your physical self and your mental health, and understanding your mindset and becoming more sort of self-aware within that, I think is absolutely crucial.
Yeah, no, brilliant. I love that answer actually. There's you literally quoted him, but there's a video with Piers Morgan and Chris Williamson. I'm guessing you know who Chris Williamson is. Um,
Yes.
and Piers asked, "What's more important, mental health or physical health?" And Chris said it was physical health, and Piers was like, "No, I think it's mental health, or no, no, not mental health, physical fitness or mental. I think it was maybe mental resilience, physical strength or mental strength. That was it." And Chris said physical strength because he thinks that a good session in the gym is more beneficial as a holistic from a holistic point of view than like a meditation session, or I don't know, whatever you call it, but something along those lines. And I thought that was really interesting actually, because we talk about the idea that the mind and the body are connected and how they're like one entity. And if you have a strong mind, you have a strong body. So by like laws of logic, if you want to develop, I think the one of the words when you were talking about mindset that came up in my mind was resilience. And that doesn't mean blindness towards the truth that you're being faced by. It means what you literally just said, which was emotional control is exceptionally important. So I think that's really interesting, the physical strength point of view. And I agree that is foundational. Yeah. So and yeah, then I would put mindset, and as you quite rightly said, it gets chucked around a lot, and it's such a broad term now that's kind of lost all meaning. But I was speaking to someone who on here who did like a master's in some form of psychology, and we were talking about emotional regulation, and she was saying that the term emotional intelligence actually is more applicable to yourself. We think emotional intelligence is understanding other people, but actually, I mean, it is that, but it's also equally important as understanding yourself. So someone might say, "Oh, I'm an empath." Do you know what that means? So I'm very swayed by, yeah, I'm swayed by other people's emotions. And her response was, actually, that's not emotional intelligence. Being an empath does not mean you're emotionally intelligent, because it means that you're being influenced by other people. And as much as maybe there's benefit to that, the important thing is emotional control and of yourself, and an awareness of what's going on and why it's happening. So are you developing that? Is that something that, as you get older, you've been working on, and where did it start and where is it now on the journey?
Yeah, so this is something that I think you develop. I don't think you ever sort of reach a point of like maximum emotional awareness and capabilities. Some people might claim it. I think it's a journey. I think just like a fitness journey, you're always developing the physical self. I think we train the mind in the same sort of manner. You're always developing your mental health and your mental well-being. So for me, it actually kind of started back sort of lockdown era when I kind of first started really actually started taking my mental health seriously and trying to become more sort of emotionally self-aware. I was, listening to a lot more podcasts by people like Dr. Jordan Peterson. I was listening to more audiobooks, reading more books, meditating more. I think what I've sort of learned from it is, and you touched on this just then actually, it's not a case of not feeling. I think this is something that like a lot of people, particularly young lads, sort of get caught up on. They think they feel a necessity to not feel things. But this isn't what being emotionally aware or mature is. It's understanding how you feel, but choosing your response to that emotion. Because I think what we often forget is we ultimately have a final say over how we react or respond to an emotion. We can't stop that initial emotion. Say someone's pissed you off. I know you're at work, a colleague's made a comment and it's annoyed you. Say, for example, for me, for example, back when I used to work my old job, I take my meal prepping with me because I was on a bodybuilding prep at the time, and people would be like, "Oh, you not bored of that food? You eat it all day, every day." And I'm like, look, it just got to me and it annoyed me. And I remember one time I went to act off emotion, so I felt anger in that moment. I felt just frustrated, and I went to say something bad, like, well, blah, what this, that, and the other. But I stopped myself, and I remembered that I don't have to choose that reaction which I want to feel, because we are self-aware, and ultimately you can choose how you respond to any emotion at any given time. And there's a book I read which I strongly, anyone that's listening to this, and if yourself, if you haven't read it either, it's called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, and it is the most eye-opening book of probably one of my favorite books of all time. And I won't kind of dive into it too much now because I think it's important to go listen to or read it. But it talks about a concept called the last of human freedoms, and that's, you can take everything from a man but his ability to choose how he feels at any given moment of time. And I think that stuck with me, and it still does now. So as I go throughout life now, and I'm learning new things, experiencing new stresses through work, through networking, relationships, whatever it is, I always remind myself that ultimately I choose how I respond to situations. I have that final call, not myself. And it sounds it's a bit of a it almost sounds a little bit hippie to a degree when you're trying to explain to someone who doesn't sort of understand it initially, but you kind of got to be quite open-minded by it. But you are not sort of connected to your internal dialogue, that ego, almost like it is separate to yourself. So that initial emotion, that internal dialogue, whatever you want to feel, that is not you, and you can choose how you react and respond to different things. So I hope that's kind of answered the question. I'm coming a bit of a tangent there, but I hope it's kind of given a little bit of insight to how my mind kind of works, I guess.
What so specifically with you, what do you do in those moments? Because I've spoken to other people and they've sort of spoken about this idea of the gap, not them exclusively. I think it's been said elsewhere, but the gap of the stimulus and then the reaction, and you have that sort of window of sort of nothingness or like potential, I guess, negative potential, positive potential. How does that manifest itself for you? Like, what do you feel a sensation, and then do you go, okay, I'm feeling this, but I'm going to do this, or do you go, okay, I'm feeling this, but I'm going to try and separate myself from it? Do you understand what I'm sort of getting at? Sort of just like tangible example.
Yeah, so it's actually a good question, and it's something I haven't actually sat down with and considered or thought about much recently, because it kind of just happens now. I don't really think about it. I don't want to make it
That's
sound like
good
I'm
though.
some sort of like monk. Like
No,
I never react. Also, I have my moments, of course.
of
Like
course.
I do get annoyed still. I am human, but I think what I realize, I think I want to say it's Mel Robbins. I'm not sure the author, who has a book called The 5 Second Rule, and it
Yeah.
talks about this. As you just said, you have like this sort of 5 second gap between an emotional response to your physical reaction or your verbal reaction. And I just kind of remind myself that anytime I'm feeling something, particularly if it's in like sort of a heated debate or like an argument or whatever it is with another person, I just remind myself that they might have said something which annoyed me, but I have sort of that 5 second period to decide how I respond to it. And I think I actually pause. I actually will sit there and pause in silence, really think about the emotion I'm feeling, and decide if I want to react with that said emotion, or I want to kind of tie a different emotion to the event, or just not react at all. So it's something I've definitely, it's a skill. It's a skill. And I think just like becoming more confidence, it's a skill. The more you push yourself outside your comfort zone, the more confident you're going to become as a byproduct. Just like emotional intelligence and awareness, the more you practice this, the better you're going to become. So I think just try to have little reminders day to day. And this can be little things like, say you told yourself you're going to wake up at 7 a.m., but you wake up at half 7 and you're a little bit frustrated about it. Just a little reminder to be like, okay, I want to feel frustrated. That's how my body's trying to make me feel. But I don't have to associate with that feeling. I can respond in a different way. So I think it's just recognizing it. And I wouldn't really know how to answer in terms of what I do. It's just kind of
Yeah.
taking a moment, I think, just to actually pull myself out of the scenario, especially if it's like a pretty big thing. Say you just received some bad news, or someone's annoyed you, or like say even like the typical road rage example. I remember I used to be awful for this. I used to, someone would cut me off and I'd be straight away slamming the horn, screaming out the window, middle fingers going up. And like I stopped doing that when I kind of started understanding, how to regulate and control my emotion a lot better. And then I realized when that happens, it's just no benefit's going to come from me reacting in that way. So I kind of take that sort of moment, that 5 second rule, just to understand, process that emotion, how it's going to make me feel, then choose how I respond and react. And I think you've always got that final decision. I mean, it's important to remember you are in the driver's seat. You control your reality. You always have the final call. So it's up to you. It's completely up to you how you want to live that sort of reality.
Yeah. And I think the fact that you were struggling to say specifically what you do is a really good indication that you've probably done it so much that you've sort of automatized it now or automated it. So that makes complete sense. And obviously that's the goal. And I was thinking like, how can you get to that point? And it's probably like everything in life. Try and start off with like the smallest things possible. So I'm trying to think of a really like minimal reaction that you might get and try and almost to the degree that it's almost imperceptible. You can't really perceive it, but try and perceive it and then try and regulate it yourself and just make note of those tiny little wins that that you're starting to accumulate. And then, because if you try and go into this, like everything in life, I was speaking about like panic attacks the other day with someone and we were talking about breathing and how important breathing is. If you try and do deep breathing whilst in the middle of a panic attack, it's going to be sort of pretty useless and pretty futile. Not completely. I mean, it obviously can work, but you have to practice breathing. In this case, you have to practice emotional regulation in the small, easy scenarios so that you can build up to the bigger scenarios that are more significant. Yeah, I mean, anyone's listening, just, I don't know, if you get driving's probably a really good example actually, because you can get annoyed by driving quite easily, but it's so insignificant. It has no bearing on your life in general.